How's it going, guys? My name is Preston, and I'm going to be making a quick demonology guide. This is going to be a beginner's guide, but I will be making a multi-part series if you want to learn more about the demonology warlock. So let's get started. If you've never played a warlock before, or you've never played demonology before, this guide should be pretty good for you. But if you still play demonology and you're not like an expert demonologist, you still might learn a thing or two. So hopefully this video will be useful to you. Alright, so first of all, let's just go over the basic abilities first. So you have Shadowbolt, we have Doom, Hand Dan, Call Dreadstalkers, Demonic Empowerment, and Summon Felguard. So we have our basic pets, obviously. Our Warlocks are a pet class. Demonology is focusing on that, so we get a new demon, or Felguard. I have mine glyphed to look like a Wrathguard, but that doesn't really mean anything. But so we're going to be using that pet all the time. You don't really use any of the other pets. This pet is more damaging than any of the other pets you have. Since most of your damage comes from your main pet and your secondary pets, you need to make sure that you manage it well and make sure it's attacking the right target. I highly recommend you keybind, attack, target, passive, assist. Like for me, like I play this class a lot, like it's E to attack my target and Q to put him on passive, shift Q. You know, like I highly recommend you get into the habit of being able to quickly keybind where your pets do it. Be aware of that if you want to play demonology. Okay, so aside from your main pet, what do we do as a demonology warlock, or just a warlock in general? So we have our resources. So we have mana and we have soul shards. So mana you're not going to have to worry about too much. As you cast spells, they do cost mana, and when you run out of mana, you have life tap. Which just sacrifices a bit of your health to restore your mana. In general, just do this on the move, or when you're not in combat, or when you need more of it. It's just something when you start playing a warlock, you'll get used to it, and all that. Now your soul shards, these are your bread and butter of the class and the spec. As for what we're gonna do, and you spend soul shards on summoning demons. And you need to generate them. So it's a builder-spender kind of class. You build with Shadowbolt and Doom, and you spend with Call Dreadstalkers and Hand Dan. That's how this specialization works. So you can hold up to 5, and like I said, so we spend them on Call Dreadstalkers. So what is Call Dreadstalkers? This is going to be our main 15-second cooldown. You use this on single target. And it costs 2 soul shards to do, and has a 15-second cooldown. So you pretty much want to use this on cooldown. And every time we summon something, we buff it with Demonic Empowerment. So just keep that in mind. So Demonic Empowerment increases your pet's haste, its health, and its damage. By a lot. Always, always hit Demonic Empowerment after you summon something. Alright. So, we'll summon some Dreadstalkers, and we buff them. So they're just going to attack the target. I'm not going to do anything. They're just doing all the damage for me. Alright, so that's what you're going to be doing. Now, if we want to keep doing damage, we need more soul shards. How are we going to get more soul shards? So you can use Shadowbolt as your filler spell. Every time you cast one, you generate a soul shard. So you can summon more Dreadstalkers out. Summon them, buff them, cast a Shadowbolt. Once you're at 4 soul shards, you can use Hand Dan to summon a bunch of imps. Buff them up. Keep casting Shadowbolts. Once your Dreadstalkers come off a cooldown, pull those out, and then buff them, and then keep casting Shadowbolts. Hand Dan. Dreadstalkers is back up, so cast that, buff them. And this is going to be the bare basics on how to do this. It's just going to be just summoning, buffing, life tap when you're low on mana, And that's the basics. Now, the other thing you're going to want to keep in mind, aside from Shadow Bolt, is your Doom. Now, Doom is a bit weird. Doom is a damage over time, similar to Agony or you know, Immolate. But the thing about Doom is that it only has one tick of damage. So, you know, you look at Agony, like every second it does a damage, right? Doom, it does no damage until it has one tick. So at my current haste, it does damage after 14 seconds. So if the target isn't going to last 14 seconds, it's not going to do any damage to it. So if I cast it here, you can see I'm not doing any DPS right now. But in 10 seconds, it's going to do all its damage all at once. And it will generate me a soul shard when it does damage. Boom! There it goes. 1.2 million. And it did its damage. Now, this can confuse some players because they think that, you know, they need to wait for it to run out to get their damage. But that's actually not the case. It still functions the same way that any other damage over time does. So you can refresh it like you would any other dot and still get its damage. So just to prove that to you real quick. So you see it's going to run out here in 10 seconds. And you want to refresh Doom at about 5 seconds. So I'm going to hit refresh there. And then you'll see here in a couple seconds, boom, it did its damage. And it's still ticking on the target. So that proves that point to you, that you can refresh the dot and still get its damage. So on boss fights, you're going to keep Doom up 100% of the time, as if you were Affliction Warlock or any other dot class. And then, so you just keep doing that. So just to go over rotation again, you just Doom the target, cast a Shadow Bolt, call some Dreadstalkers, buff them, Handigal Dan, buff it, start casting Shadow Bolt, and refresh your Doom before it runs out. Make sure you're not at full shards whenever your Doom does damage. So get something to track your Doom. I recommend Doom shards, or there's a couple weak ores you can grab. I'm using Doom shards. That's what it is here above my cast bar. So that's the basics for single targets. So how do we AoE? So in AoE, most of the time you're not going to be multi-dotting with Doom because it takes too long to ramp up, like in Mythic Plus or something. But the target is going to last a long time. I'd say you can do say three targets. You can throw 3 Dooms out there, but beyond that, you really don't want to cast it. So the main thing we're going to be doing in AoE is we're going to be using Demon Wrath. Basically, our rotation in AoE is the same. We just use Demon Wrath instead of Shadow Bolt. So we'll just start out by just precasting a Shadow Bolt. You can use Troll Dreadstalkers. You can still buff, and you can still use Handigal Dan. So what does Demon Wrath do? So you sit here, you channel it. You can move while casting this, so even in single target, it's pretty good for, you know, movement. You can still get some damage out there. So what am I doing right now? Like I'm summoning stuff, and then I'm channeling this thing. Like, an AoE just kind of happens. So what's happening is every minion I summon, when I cast Demon Wrath, each one of them radiates a small purple AoE around them, and that's how you do AoE. And its damage has a 15% chance to proc you soul shards. So in an AoE scenario, so in like 3 to 4 or more targets, you're going to be using Demon Wrath as your filler, and you're going to be using Handigal Dan over Called Dreadstalkers. Called Dreadstalkers is mostly a single target spell. Handigal Dan does do AoE damage in 8 yards around the target you cast it on, and summons the imps at that location. So you got to make sure the imps are near the target or near where you want to be doing your AoE damage. So keep that in mind. Think of Handigal Dan as where you're placing your AoE for that. So that's pretty much the basics on how to play a Demonology Warlock. Just summon stuff and buff stuff. Keep Doom up and keep going. Hope you liked the video. Have a good one.